All right, good evening. Thanks for joining us on 5 Plus. For the last half hour or so for our coverage tonight of Election 24.
We made it to the home stretch.
We are heading downhill in more ways than one. No, just kidding. We do have a lot of results that are coming in now, and a lot of these races, not a lot of surprise. I'm going to start with the third congressional seat in Arkansas. Steve Womack, this was called about an hour or so ago, 64% of the vote. That with 93% of the vote counted.
And let's see if we can get some more results in here. Moving on. All right. As you can see, Congressman Bruce Westerman coming in. This was called in his favor, 73% of the vote, compared to Reese Howard with 27% of the vote for House District 4.
All four of the congressional seats in Arkansas have been declared winners to the Republicans. In eastern Oklahoma, this is the congressional seat that covers a lot of East Oklahoma, including Sequoyah and LaFleur counties. Josh Brecheen winning re-election there. 74, these are final numbers, 74% of the vote there with 100% of the vote counted.
All right, let's move on to the next race and see the Arkansas Supreme Court Chief Justice. 76% of precincts reporting statewide right now. Karen Baker, 52% of the vote compared to Rhonda Wood with 48%. I believe these numbers have been percentage-wise largely unchanged.
Pretty much the same, that's right. All right, for Arkansas issue 2, this is the issue that would take away, if it is approved, it would take away the casino license that was granted for Pope County. The for vote in this is 56%, against is 44%, and we talked about this a moment ago. People in Pope County,
a
reversal on this.
Reversal, because when this first came up in 2018, more than 60% of residents in Pope County said, we do not want a casino where we live. Well, now you can see just a few years, 6 years later, much different story. And the numbers don't reflect this. The unofficial results out of Pope County show that they are against losing the casino that could be built in Russellville. But it looks like, as of now, it might not actually be built there.
All right, this is for the Arkansas State Treasurer. AP is projecting that John Thurston, the incumbent, Secretary of State. This is for Secretary of State. John Thurston is going to win this race at 66%, John Pagan with 30%, Michael Paco with 4% of the vote there.
All right, let's go check on the next race that we are following tonight. Let's see if we can pop this one up. All right, Bentonville Mayor, incumbent Stephanie Orman, 54% of the vote, Steve Galen, 46% of the vote, and that is with 74% of precincts in the city of Bentonville reporting right now. But Stephanie does have a comfortable lead. That's where we find 5 News reporter Jose Carranza. He is actually at Stephanie's lively watch party
Very
right
lively,
now. I think
yes.
they have our live stream on, and let's send it out to Jose.
Yeah, we had to step outside, y'all. It was a little bit loud inside with all the music and all the cheering. But yes, as soon as those final numbers for the night came in from the Benton County Election Commission, and I called the election coordinator, and she clarified with me, yes, they only do 2 releases, the absentee, the provisional ballots, and then the second release is when they got those election day numbers in. I checked those numbers. It was around 4,000 votes that came in, and those really did. It was kind of split down the middle, and so Mayor Orman just completed the night leading by around 1,000 votes. This really goes to show y'all that every vote does matter, 1,000 votes. But after we got those numbers, Mayor Orman addressed everyone in this crowd, thanking the volunteers. There was moments where she got a bit emotional. There was just a lot of happiness and almost sadness that this entire journey is coming to an end. You know, voting, everything's done by now, just to get that certified and recounted. But yeah, the Bentonville mayor so far, 54% is for Stephanie Orman. Steve Galen is going away from this race, not winning that challenge, and Stephanie Orman is, for now, the mayor for Bentonville. For now, we're live in Bentonville, covering news where we live. Jose Carranza, 5 News.
All right, Jose, thanks. Another race that's seeing a lot of attention tonight, the race for the mayor of Fayetteville, and it appears that's going to be a runoff runoff election in that. Let's send it out to Lauren Spencer, who was at the mayor's race, or covering the mayor's race for us. Lauren.
Yeah, Darren, these candidates cannot breathe a sigh of relief just yet, as we just found out that this will be going to a runoff. This runoff will be between two very influential people in the city of Fayetteville. I spoke with incumbent Fayetteville Mayor Lionel Jordan at his watch party here in Mojitos. They just recently left, and he said that this is just a part of the process, that this is just kind of something they're going to have to do, and he's still very confident that he's going to win this race, he says. And Mayor Jordan has held the position as mayor since 2008. And he actually wanted a runoff back then. He says he's seen it all: pandemics, recessions, and hyperinflation. He's brought forward multiple bond issues to improve infrastructure and the quality of life for his citizens. And he currently directs 10 master plans that guide through Fayetteville's future. But Molly Ron, she's the CEO of Experience Fayetteville, and she's responsible for their $6.2 million budget. And she's responsible for increasing all that economic development that the city sees through the tourism department. She wants to focus on access, innovation, and partnership. She said that she's running towards Fayetteville to move forward towards the future. And now that this is going to a runoff, I know that we're going to hear much more from these candidates within the next coming days, and as they go through that process. So we're going to send it back to you guys in the studio now.
We'll keep a close eye on this one. Thank you, Lauren. Let's send it out to 5 News reporter Rachel Williams, who's been following the Rogers mayoral race for us tonight. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Alexandra. You know, I'm here at the incumbent mayor Greg Hines watch party, and we were just celebrating the excitement that it has been unofficially announced that he was reelected with those numbers, and those numbers from Benton County officials show that the race was neck and neck. Hines is in the lead with 51%, and not too far behind him is Latimer with 49% of the votes. And earlier when I spoke to Chris Latimer, he said it's time for change and that his campaign was focused on infrastructure. But Mayor Greg Hines spoke about what he's already done in office. Okay, well, stay with us tonight as we continue to have those results with us. Back to you guys.
All right, Rachel, thanks. We've been watching Alex drink way too much
Caffeinated energy drinks,
or something.
you could say. I think Alex has been eating a lot of pizza, drinking those energy drinks. Alex, you've done a phenomenal job tonight breaking down the electoral map for us. What are you seeing now, especially with those battleground states?
Is it bad that I'm seeing sound and hearing colors? Is that a problem on election night? It might. Okay, just making sure that I'm not too over-caffeinated. But speaking of seeing colors, guess who's back? Back again. It is me at the touchboard, and that is an Eminem reference, but we will get to his state of Michigan in just a second because a lot has happened since I last talked to you. Let's go ahead and break down the states that have been called. Iowa went to Trump, Kansas went to Trump, Wyoming Trump, Idaho Trump, Utah Trump. Very big push. That's why he's sitting at the 230 mark right now, which 40 needed to hit that magic number of 270. As for Harris, well, this went about as expected. We knew it was coming. The West Coast push. Washington, let me clear this off actually. Let's go Washington, Oregon, California. We all knew it was coming. Right to her count. New Mexico also just recently called for Vice President Harris. That goes up there. So she's closing in. However, the interesting thing here, as we've been saying all night long, I told you it was the Lionel Richie state, right? Georgia on my mind, as well as the candidates. Take a look at this. It is about a 2.5%, almost 3% advantage here for Donald Trump with, I believe it's 91% of the votes counted in Georgia. So it is looking like that could swing Donald Trump's way, barring some major turnout of votes in some of those counties that were still white. Now, the other interesting thing here, Donald Trump actually won North Carolina. So that secured a key battleground state for former President Trump as we jump into a look at how the county shook things out. That one was called at 10:18 tonight. So that locked up quite a few electoral votes for former President Trump. Now, we talked about Georgia, Pennsylvania, the other massive one in this race. Pennsylvania, pull that up. You can kind of see how the ballot's been counted so far. Kind of looks like chicken pox, right? Let's pull up the map, and you can see it is just a rush of red across the state. These were the counties that were blue in the 2020 election cycle, so that's about par for the course, but deep red through the center, and we're still waiting to hear from these couple counties right there. But as it stands right now, Donald Trump almost a 4-point lead in the Pennsylvania race, which, if we do some quick math for you here, we've got 16 coming from Georgia, we've got 19 coming from Pennsylvania, which is going to put Donald Trump at 265, which would mean he would need just one other state minus Alaska. Sorry, Alaska, only 3 there. Still, everyone is important, but any of the major ones up here, and he would be the president of the United States. Now, I did sort of reference Eminem, so let's go ahead and take a look at Michigan. Pull up the county look there. A lot of red, Detroit blue as you would expect, Grand Rapids blue as you would expect. This one, again though, Donald Trump almost a 5-point lead. However, 39% of the votes counted, so there's plenty more to come with Michigan. That could easily swing the other way. And then finally here, Minnesota, a little blue tinge here as that closes in for Kamala Harris. But the final one I want to take a look at here, Arizona. All election season you've been hearing how important Arizona is and that it was going to be close. I don't know if you can see this. I don't want to zoom it in to screw up our whole touchscreen here. The operation's been so smooth all night. But Donald Trump leading by 0.4%. That is about 7,000 votes, folks. 7,000 votes in the state of Arizona right now. I mean, that's razor close, razor's edge. Great AC/DC song, by the way. And then finally, Nevada. Come on. Polls have been closed. Let's get some results in so we can start taking a look at this map in full color spectrum. But Nevada, I will try and bring that to you by the end of the show. However, as it stands right now, Donald Trump 230, Vice President Kamala Harris 205. Still plenty of night to go. But guys, Trump is sitting pretty good when it comes to this model right here.
Arizona, just by a few thousand votes.
My goodness.
We're keeping an eye on all those battleground states, of course, but a lot of these are very close. All right, we are back with our lovely experts who have spent the whole evening with us, and we really appreciate you both being here. We have John C. Davis, Associate Professor of Political Science at the U of A, and William Zian Kim, PhD, and you are the Associate Professor of Political Science at UA Fort Smith. And so I want to start, John, you were just pulling up this race. We're talking about the supermajority might be broken up at the state legislature level in Arkansas. You're watching one race. This is District 9, covering parts of Springdale. It could flip.
It could. So I think we're still too early, or maybe it's even already out of reach. We haven't realized it yet for Democrats to really make a major dent into the supermajority. But if we're looking at the State House race of District 9, which is Springdale and Springdale area, you've got the state representative Deanna Hodges, incumbent Republican, that right now is behind by a rather sizable margin at the moment to challenger Diana Gonzalez-Worthen. This is one of those rematch races that we mentioned earlier in Northwest Arkansas. Again, not official results, but this looks like there's at least the potential for a Democratic pickup in very Republican Arkansas. Going down a little further here, we look at District 10, so north of us, where we are tonight, looking at Bentonville, parts of Centerton, and Bella Vista, and it looks like the incumbent has more than likely staved off the challenger. That was that race we were talking about where it was unusually high volume of contributions, really expensive contest. Both candidates raising over $100,000 apiece, but it looks like for all that money spent, pretty much going to be, it looks like in the hands of the incumbent there, in which would favor the Republican Party in defending their supermajority.
Even with that flip, that's not going to change.
That would, and I think we'd have to see some others in Central Arkansas. There's some close contests, but in East Arkansas, and I haven't seen really up-to-date results there on the Secretary of State's website. No indication right now that we would see that happen, but things could occur overnight as the tallies continue to get submitted.
All right, we got some fancy artwork over here. There's a lot to explain, apparently, unless I'm looking at this wrong.
Our expert with the whiteboard,
That's right.
William
He's been having
Dankamp.
a lot of fun with this whiteboard.
And doing it well.
Yeah.
Thank you. It looks complicated, but it's as simple as it looks as well.
Okay.
This is to show that in politics in general and campaigns in particular, a combination of art and science. There's a scientific element to it. This is actually the formula to compute, and in every single election, even at the local level, to get a sense of how many votes you need in order to win a race. So, but again, science and art. For example, when you say, okay, how many votes do I need? Let's say, for example, this was Pennsylvania. I'm coming in there and then say, okay, how many votes do I need? The formula is calling for me to find out what the total electorate is, meaning those who are eligible to vote 18 and older. And then I multiply that by the percentage of registered voters. I could get this. It's available. Oh, and then the percentage of expected voter turnout. This needs some assumptions to be built in because we don't know what we don't know. So you could look at previous electoral cycles and try to get the average. And then what is called the resiliency rate. Meaning what? If, for example, you have the top of the ballot, if, for example, it's for president, the resiliency rate is voters that will actually vote from the top all the way to the bottom. But for president, it's usually 100% because that's the top of the ballot. So if the total electorate in this hypothetical Pennsylvania is 1 million people and potential registered voters, 56%, and then 52% for expected voters. I compute all of that with a 100% resiliency rate. It gets me to this. But to win a race, a two-person race, you need a 50% plus 1 to win. So I got this. I got to divide it by 2. It gives me the number. And then I add 1. I know that this is what I need to win. I could be right. I could be wrong, depending on the assumptions I built in here. So it's a combination of art and science.
What's interesting is out of 1 million votes, all they need is 145,000 hypothetically to win a race.
Yeah, 100 million eligible voters.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
So that just tells me every vote counts.
Indeed, all the time.
No matter what state you're in.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's a science behind all of this. They don't just go at it without having at least some kind of a roadmap to what they need in order to win.
All right, so we are
My goodness.
seeing the electoral map fill out. Really, as Alex was showing us just a little bit ago, it's Nevada or Nevada, as some might say, has not been really filled out yet. We're still waiting for results. But, seeing this tonight, we're seeing a lot of numbers come in, some battleground states really close like Arizona. Do you all think that this presidential race could be called tonight, maybe by tomorrow, or are we thinking later this week into the weekend at this point?
I think right now it is about the way that we thought it would be based on the polling. And what I mean is it's a really tight race. I think you're going to continue to see probably more extra attention paid to the blue wall from the Harris team. That's pretty much their stopgap at this point. A lot of the states that they may have thought were they going to be able to pick up or surprise us with haven't materialized. VP Harris appears to be underperforming in some key areas. To William's point, she's not hitting some of the numbers that her team knows that she needs to hit. Now, all that to say, if we look at the map again, we would see that Pennsylvania, for instance, most of the outlying areas around Philadelphia have not fully reported. So we're looking at rural counties reporting first because there's fewer people there, and then we're waiting on these major metro areas. And so if we're looking at Arizona or Nevada in particular, it's practically, there's very few people living outside of, 1 or 2 county areas. And so it's still up for grabs in many ways. But I think at this point, I would say that if you're in Team Harris's camp, you're not as optimistic as you were probably going into this morning. And if you're on Team Trump, you're feeling cautiously optimistic. Because, again, those numbers, you're not seeing anything that's really a red light to you right now. Now, what we're going to have to watch over the next day or two, and this might draw us out a little bit, if this contest continues to be so close that no one can claim 270 anytime soon, then it comes down to those metropolitan areas, and they may have outstanding absentee ballots that have to be cured. There's some extended processes here, and basically the closer the race is, the longer it's going to be before we know anything, because as you said, every vote counts,
Yeah, exactly.
particularly in those battleground states.
Okay, all right. We are going to break away from here for just a little bit to do our last cut-in on Channel 5. We'll be back, though, here in just a few minutes to put a bow on this coverage tonight as far as locally is concerned. Stay with us. We will take a break. We'll see you on Channel 5 and then back on 5+.
See you soon.
All right, we are back on Channel 5 for our last election night cut-in from CBS. Let's get right to the numbers. Arkansas issue 2, 56% voting for this. This would mean that the casino license for Pope County would be rescinded, and it would have to start that process all over again. This with about 82% of the vote counted.
All right, moving on to the next issue. Let's pop up the Arkansas State Treasurer race. 82% of precincts around the state reporting, and Republican John Thurston, this has been called in his favor with 82% of precincts reporting. You can see comfortable lead, 66% of voters supporting him, whereas with John Pagan, 30% of voters supporting him, and Michael Paco, just 4% of the vote tonight.
Next race, this is the Supreme Court Chief Justice race between Karen Baker and Rhonda Wood. History-making race because whoever wins this become the first female Supreme Court Chief Justice. Karen Baker with 52%, Rhonda Wood 48%. That percentage has not changed at all throughout the entire night.
And that's one to watch as well. All right, moving on to our next race. This one, if you live in Fayetteville, even if you don't, this is one to keep a close eye on. Now, 100% of precincts reporting this race will go into a runoff. Incumbent Lionel Jordan getting 47% of the vote. Because he's facing 3 challengers, he would need, any winner would need 50% of the vote plus 1 to be able to have it called in their favor. So you can see Molly Ron taking a comfortable chunk of voters, 37% voting for her. Tom Terminella, 12%. Adam Firecat, 4%.
Next race, let's talk about the Rogers mayor's race. Looks like Greg Hines is going to win re-election there, 51% of the vote. Chris Latimer with 49% of the vote. We are joined here by Dr. Williams Rankam and John Davis, our political experts, and we got about 45 seconds. Any surprises with any of this that we've seen tonight?
It's been a strong night for Republicans in Arkansas with Thurston, our current Secretary of State, being elected treasurer. All 4 members of the House reelected. No surprises there, really, in the state.
Yeah, no surprises so far also nationally, although we're seeing some underperformance by Vice President Harris and then President Trump outperforming his numbers in 2020. And now he's going to wonder by the end of the night or tomorrow, we're going to see if this election was a redemption for President Trump's political life or a breakthrough for Vice President Harris.
All right, we're going to send it back to CBS coverage. We will join you back on 5 Plus in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks for joining us back here on 5 Plus as we continue to follow this major election night. And we have seen the electoral map change colors quite a bit tonight.
Yeah, let's send it back over to our resident
Steve
sports / election expert.
Yes.
Alex, what's happening over there right now?
Boy, if I'm going to get the Steve Kornacki comparison, I feel like I needed to roll my sleeves up at least like once tonight and get my hair a little frenetic, but I'm kind of liking the vibe that we have in studio as it stands now. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the suit. Now it's all messed up. Gosh darn it. But what isn't messed up is our presidential election map here. Let's take a look. Not a lot has changed since last we spoke. The only real thing that happened was Vice President Harris picked up Hawaii, which is why she now sits at 210. Donald Trump still at 230. We can go ahead and take a look at the wider race here. Georgia, interesting, as I've said, that's the one we've been watching all night. Donald Trump, about 2.3% ahead. That's roughly, we'll call it under 200,000 votes separating the two of them. We're still waiting to hear from 2 counties there. But I would imagine with 93% of the votes counted, I could be wrong as we do see some light blue around Atlanta. We might see this one called tonight. If not, patience is a virtue. Moving on to Pennsylvania, that's another one as we move to our county leader look. A lot of deep red through the state. One county, looks like we might have a little reporting here, slight red, little pink tinge, but one county we have not heard from yet tonight. This one we're seeing 84% of the votes in. We're looking at about 175,000 vote difference between former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. And again, that one, 84% of votes counted. Michigan, an interesting one. This one is red as it stands right now. Donald Trump leading by almost 5% with 39% of the votes counted. Still plenty of room to go right there. It actually just jumped up to 48% of the votes counted as I'm speaking to you right now. And jumping over to Wisconsin, let's take a look at this. 51.2% to 47.4. We're looking at 3.8%. I am just doing math as quickly as I can for you. Arizona, again, this one just a razor's edge race here. 49.9 to 49.4 in favor of former President Trump in Arizona. And just a quick breakdown the numbers for you. Georgia, Pennsylvania, if it stays the same, that's going to be 36 electoral votes to Donald Trump, or 35 rather, to Donald Trump, which would mean he would just need one more state minus Alaska to get to 270. And if that is the case, if he does pick up Pennsylvania and Georgia, we'll give him those two. That would mean Vice President Harris would basically have to sweep the blue wall as well as pick up Nevada to get the presidential nomination. But for more on all of that from people that are far more qualified than I will send it over to Alexandra and Darren.
Nice toss there. Thank you, Alex. You've done a great job tonight. All right, well, we have a couple of experts in-house, as you know, tonight. We have William Ziemkamp and John Davis. And so as we look at the electoral map, what are your thoughts right now?
So I think Alex did a fine job of pointing out that Kamala Harris still has basically the same path that polls indicated she might have for the last few weeks. But it's tight. There's not going to be any surprise victories for VP Harris. I think it's going to be pretty tight when we count in these metro votes over the next day or two. It may be that long, maybe not. But basically, if Kamala Harris stands to lose one of those blue wall states, and then something doesn't shake her way in Nevada or elsewhere, in Georgia in particular, it very well could be a return to power for former President Trump. On the other hand, I mean, Trump's path to victory is also still relatively narrow. We don't really have a good handle on the states that have not yet completely reported, because historically the areas that have not reported fully are areas that we would expect to go towards Harris. The question is how much. Is she going to pick up enough of a margin? Is she going to be able to pad her lead enough in some of these metropolitan areas to withstand Trump's gains in these rural communities? By and large, he's doing better in many places than he did in 2020.
You know, and when it comes to Congress, Williams, you've been following the situation in the House and the Senate. The Senate is 50-50 right now. Is that correct?
Yes, although some news outlets have already projected that the Republicans will take control of the Senate. We have Politico and Fox News are projecting that. So the Senate, the Republicans, as of now, likely to take control of the U.S. Senate. As for the House, it's still up for grabs.
But we're still waiting for a lot of races to come in before we know for sure.
Yes, those are specifically. You have Montana. The results have not come in yet, so you have a lot of those House districts throughout the country where the results are still uncertain.
And so for the House, how is that shaping up?
Right now, it's still a toss-up. No news outlets have been able to project who is going to win the House. But for the Senate, at least 2 of them are projected that the Republicans have taken control. So far, the night has been good for the Republicans nationally because at least they flipped the U.S. Senate. They'll be controlling the U.S. Senate. The question now is, would they be able to keep control of the House, or would the Democrats be able to flip the House of Representatives?
Here locally, you have what appears to be, or going to be, again, a supermajority in the Arkansas House. The last legislative session, a lot of controversial legislation was passed by that supermajority, including the LEARNS Act. We got another session coming up. What are we anticipating with this supermajority this next session?
Well, as you mentioned, at least right now, it looks like the supermajority is intact for Republicans in Arkansas. Things could change overnight, and as we get more results in some of these other districts beyond our bandwidth here. But I think the legislative agenda will be crafted, if the supermajority is intact, almost entirely, of course, by Republicans in the General Assembly in both chambers, and then Governor Sanders. And we were talking a little bit off camera. Sort of the rule of politics is that it's something of a combat sport, and if you've got a one-party dominated legislature, eventually there's not a lot of Democrats to beat up on, and therefore you're going to see some personality clashes and some policy debates that will occur. It'll still happen. It's not going to be a kumbaya moment in the General Assembly among Republicans, but it does grease the skids a bit, if you will. If you can pass budgets and essentially set up the spending of money or answering of tax questions without practically any substantive Democratic input, it certainly makes the progress speed up, right, as you move towards the end of a general session. So we haven't heard of any real big ticket items. We had a LEARNS Act last time, and certain issues that were near and dear to Governor Sanders' agenda, we have not seen those released yet. We can start looking at bills as they get filed in pretty short order, and we'll start to get an idea of some of the goals there. But where we stand right now, again, it could change. It looks like that supermajority will be intact.
All right, well,
Gentlemen,
we are going to check in with some of our reporters and bring you some more results, but we would just like to thank you both so much for spending 5+ hours with us on 5+. You see what I did there? You like that? All right.
it is awful late, and we're...
It is, yes, and you all have offered so much great insight tonight, and we appreciate you being here. John C. Davis from the University of Arkansas, William Zamcam from University of Arkansas Fort Smith. Thank you both so much.
Thank y'all so much for having us.
All right, you bet. All right, a couple of issues that Arkansans were voting on this year. This was one of the more controversial ones. Arkansas Issue 2, which would basically take away the license that was granted for the casino in Pope County. It looks like this is going to pass with 82% of the vote. So it looks like the whole process for wherever this 4th casino license is going to be granted, that it'll be taken away from Pope County. It could theoretically go back to Pope County if it comes down to that. But now it is the for vote 56%. Against is 44%. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi is in the newsroom now to help us out with what we're hearing on that.
Yeah, guys, just 3 minutes ago, County Judge Ben Cross, he was against Issue 2. He just released a statement. Again, this is just about 3 minutes ago. They're accepting defeat. They're saying that, again, AP has not confirmed that Issue 2 has gone forward and passed, but County Judge Ben Cross, who originally in 2018 was against the Pope County casino license, now for in 2024 because of the economic benefit he thought it would bring to his county, to the whole River Valley, really. He is now, he just released a statement accepting defeat, quote, in what is undoubtedly, this is from him, quote, it is what is undoubtedly the epitome of irony. Pope County voters definitely made their voices heard once again. once and for all on the casino issue by soundly defeating issue 2. We knew that. We knew that Pope County voted against issue 2 in this election. The for vote was 10,668 votes. Against it, 13,391 votes. But to him, again, like I just said, accepting defeat on this vote. And one thing I really wanted to mention is that that side, the group against issue 2, they wanted to really make the point that this was an idea that was so close to going through. They were talking about how they had the plans for a $300 million investment in a casino in Pope County. They talked about that it would employ 1,000 people. This would have been called Legends Resort Casino in Arkansas. They also brought up that this license was legally obtained. So right now, that just came in. Also, Allison Burham, she's a spokesperson for the group. She tells me that they thought that Pope County was going to vote this way. They just hoped the rest of Arkansas was going to do so as well. It appears right now from what he's saying, it looks like their groups have accepted defeat on this issue. As you said, 56% as of right now for issue 2, 44% against issue 2. And again, it was really about two different issues, right? One of them being keeping local voters in charge, saying that they wanted county-wide special elections to put a casino anywhere in Arkansas, and those against it really focusing on the economic development that would have come from a casino. In their eyes, the economic development that would have come. So I just reached out to Allison Burham. She's another spokesperson against issue 2. We'll be waiting to hear from her. I'm also waiting to hear from local voters in charge. Hans Sturridge said that they would be releasing a statement really soon once the vote is final. So again, I think it's telling that the Pope County Judge Ben Cross right now just accepting defeat on this issue. And again, it's not official yet. AP hasn't reported yet. But if they're feeling that way, then who knows what's to come. Back to you guys.
A lot of money was
my
poured
goodness.
into this race, but now we have a new certified result right here, or excuse me, official result. The race has been called for incumbent Bentonville Mayor Stephanie Orman, 54% of the vote compared to Steve Galen, 46% of the vote, and that is all of the precincts in the city reporting. So let's go send it out to 5 News reporter Jose Carranza, who has been at Stephanie Orman's watch party all night long.
Jose, what are you hearing from her tonight?
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing a lot of things from her. Really, it's quiet right now. We're here outside of the Meteor Guitar Gallery, and it's kind of surprising that it's finally quiet, because all afternoon and into the evening, people were celebrating, they were dancing, they were blasting YMCA in there, y'all. They were blasting Sweet Caroline. They were all dancing and very happy, because when those numbers started to come in, we first got those early voting numbers and the absentee numbers, of course, and those came in favor of Stephanie Orman. And of course, we were waiting for those, election day today numbers to come in. Once those came in, everyone was celebrating. And when that happened, Mayor Orman got on stage and she addressed the crowd, and it was a bit emotional. She talked about how everyone in the crowd had supported her through the campaign with volunteering hours, and it's been a long campaign for her. Multiple times, today and this past weekend, she talked to me and mentioned that yes, she's on this campaign trail, right? But at the same time, she's still a mayor. She's got to run those duties. And she's also a mom. She had just come from a football breakfast on Saturday when we met to early vote here at the Benton County Administration Building. But yeah, like we were saying, she is currently the mayor officially. Of course, we still got to get those certified on the 15th, but there's a lot of things that she's going to be addressing. She wants to address the infrastructure in the city. She wants to address the safety in the city. She wants to be transparent and be held accountable throughout all of this process, especially with a big growing city and Walmart home office getting ready to open in Bentonville, y'all. It's happening. But for now, like we're saying, Bentonville's next mayor is Stephanie Orman. For now, we're live in Bentonville, covering news where you live. Jose Carranza, 5 News.
All right, Jose, thanks. And also winning re-election tonight. This has now been declared final. Greg Hines is going to win that race. That was a very close race. I think a lot closer than a lot of folks had expected.
Look at that, just by 233 votes.
Well,
Wow.
you're way better math than
No,
I am.
no,
that
I'm
is
not.
for sure.
It's just in the top left corner. I did not do that math.
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
Okay. I never looked up there. I just saw the Rogers mayor. But yeah, Greg Hines is going to win re-election there for the city of Rogers. We'll hopefully hear from him on your 5 News this morning. And speaking of that, this night is not over. There's still a lot of other races that are still yet to be decided as far as House and Senate in Arkansas is concerned. We'll be scrolling those at the bottom of the of your screen, and a few other issues as well, like the Taneytown tax issue with 4 different projects that tax would pay for. That will be scrolling at the bottom of your screen there. And then, of course, you have the national situation
Yes.
as well, too. And
So everyone's watching.
CBS is going to be on that one for the next several hours or so. And of course, they'll resume that. If nothing has been declared tonight, they'll resume that back again tomorrow morning.
But this has been a great night talking
my
to
gosh.
our 2 political experts from the U of A and UA Fort Smith. It's been really interesting to take a deep dive into the numbers that we are seeing. And, you know, as we're approaching midnight, we're starting to see some of these results come in with 100% of precincts reporting.
Exactly.
But we might not know the presidential race maybe until tomorrow morning or, of course, even later.
Yeah, could be even Thursday before we know officially. We thank you for joining us here on 5 Plus. This has been an experiment of sorts on streaming on 5 Plus. It's one of the
Especially-
longer streams that we've had on our 5 Plus app, and we hope you've enjoyed watching and learning maybe a little bit more about these races and issues throughout the night.
Oh, it was very experimental in the beginning, too. We had a
That's right.
couple technical
That's all right,
difficulties
though.
there, and we appreciate you all riding out those bumps with us. And, of course, we're going to continue to bring you the election results right here, starting at 4:30 on 5 News this morning, and, of course, all night long on the app and on 5newsonline.com.
Yeah, go on the website, 5newsonline.com, if you want more information about all of this. Again, thanks for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow night.
Thanks for being here with us. Hopefully you get some sleep tonight. See you tomorrow.